professionals who deal with this stuff every day, but I'm going to give a quick overview of what we mean by natural flood management and sustainable drainage. So Slow the Flow champions both. Slow the Flow recommends both of these things because they're essentially the same. But what we mean when we say NFM, natural flood management, tends to be rural areas, so upper catchment, on the hillsides, in Hardcastle crags, leaky dams, large basins in fields, wide-scale tree planting, that sort of thing. And when we're talking about SuDS, sustainable drainage systems, we tend to be talking about slowing flow in towns, as is tonight's subject. So, development in our valleys everywhere has massively exacerbated the flooding problems because, we're sort of paving over the natural environment. And so the intention of both of these things is to mimic nature and try to slow the flow. This graph describes how that works. So the blue line, where it goes across the horizontal dotted line, represents any water above that line represents flood water. So that's too much water arriving too quickly. So what we're trying to do with NFM SuDS is to flatten the curve and slow the flow of that water. So it's the same volume of the water, but it's managed differently, distributed differently to alleviate the flooding. This diagram sort of shows us some of the things that we mean by SuDS in towns. So it's holding the water where it lands, wherever you can, and trying to resist that runoff that goes quickly off all the hard surfaces. So it's things like green roofs, collecting water at the bottom of downpipes in maybe water butts or raised planters, and then taking the overflow from those things and collecting it maybe in rain gardens on the ground level, or swales, or permeable paving, tree pits, and that sort of thing. So everywhere we possibly can, and trees as well. Urban trees are very good because trees generally stop all water hitting the ground in the first place. These are some example images so that you can see the sort of things we mean by urban sustainable drainage. So in the public realm, that might be, beautiful gardens by the side of the road that are, just arranging the levels differently so that the water collects into those places rather than going down into the drains. It might be swales collecting water from downpipes. It might be a green roof of the flood warden's store. There's a container, and you can see that locally at the shoulder button car park in Maiden Road. At a domestic level, we've got things like green roofs on sheds, installing water butts generally, obviously also helping drought at the moment, and then having the overflow from those things going into the garden rather than into the drain, so into rain gardens. And just, it's everyday gardening, just managing water slightly differently in that landscape. The bottom left picture is one of our projects at Hedgerow Bridge Town Hall, where you can see the raised planters that we've used to divert the downpipes. So they go through the beautiful planting, which makes the courtyard a more attractive space, and then the outflow from that goes back into the drainage system where it would have been anyway. This is not our cartoon, but we've always liked it, because we believe in sustainable drainage and NFM as flood alleviation tools that can, be beneficial in terms of prevention of flooding in our valley. But even if they didn't make any difference at all of these things are worth doing for various reasons, and green infrastructure is a good thing to have all over the place. So in terms of the things that Slow the Flow has done so far about sustainable drainage, we are looking at, this is a project that was one of the first things we did, and it stood the test of time, and the information is all still there online. It's a useful resource that has a web page per topic for at home, at work, in public spaces and at school, and goes through what we think you might be able to do in each of those places. So that's all online. It's available as printable PDFs. And there are some printouts available at the back if you want to pick them up. The Opportunity Mapping Project, so far we have done our mapping in a small area of catchment. You can see in the white dotted line. And that's our pilot study, but we're hoping to expand it wider. And It's all available on our website. You can click on the land parcels that we've identified, and that takes you to a pop-up which gives you our suggestions for what you could do in that place. So it's location specific to, a couple of streets or a couple of fields sort of scale. It's ground truth by myself and Stuart, which means we've been out on the ground and we've looked at it and, checked that it is what we think it is and made recommendations that are specific to that place. It's all in plain English and it's realistic. It's something that can hopefully inspire anybody who's thinking of doing work, because they can go to their location, have a click and see what we think could be done. We've also got a report that accompanies that study, so we took all the numbers that came up with on all of those land parcels and put them together and came up with some extrapolated data to say what difference we think that could make if we were to do it valley-wide. And that report kind of predictably shows that we could have a substantial effect on alleviating flooding if we were to implement SuDS and NFM everywhere. It also helps us with another one of our projects that we've been starting to do, is to try and comment more on planning applications. So if we get planning applications in an area where we've done the mapping, we can have a click and see what we thought would be good there, and then use that as a way to help us advise developers on how they might be thinking about their projects differently. One of the land parcels was at Myden Community Centre, and Slow the Flow funded a master plan for their car park, which we believe that they plan to do something with at some point. So we've now got this master plan that they can refer to that would make their environment a nicer place for the community to be, as well as managing the water in a more effective way to slow the flow. This is about the legislation and where we're at currently with the system for SuDS. After the 2007 floods, so 15 years ago, the government started to take flooding more seriously and commissioned the pit review. At that time, the pit review recommended SuDS, and the Flood and Water Management Act picked that up and created Schedule 3 of the Flood and Water Management Act, which would allow adoption of SuDS by enabling local authorities to get together SABs, which stands for a SuDS advisory body, and local authorities would have these SABs, and they would be able to approve SuDS designs and arrange for their adoption. Because one of the problems with why we believe we don't have more SuDS widespread at the moment is to do with this adoption process. So once the thing is in existence, who looks after it, who maintains it, who manages it, and that would have to be different to how it works at the moment, so people are sort of nervous of change. So at the moment, we still haven't had Schedule 3 implemented. It got scrapped in 2015 by the government, and as being said, George Eustace seems to have picked it up recently, so we're hopeful that his announcement last month is going to get carried forward into the autumn, and in the autumn we will see Schedule 3 implemented, which could be a game-changing thing, hopefully, and mean that we see a lot more of SuDS more widespread and make the whole thing smoother. At present time, we haven't got that yet, but we have got the sewerage sector guidance, Appendix C, which I'm sure Yorkshire Water are going to talk more about. But that allows SuDS in England to be adopted as sewers by the water companies. So it's, a sewer on the ground, performing the same function as some of the sewers that are currently underground. But it has to be designed in a certain way and it has to fulfill certain criteria. So, it doesn't solve all the problems, but it has helped. In the meantime, without any formal adoption process, there are lots of good things going on. So Slow the Flow has got a library of case studies on our website, which we'd love you all to contribute to. Tell us what you've done, or when you do something, tell us what you do, because this is, one of the ways that people get really inspired to do things is by seeing what other people have done. And that's one of the things that Slow the Flow has always been about, is, everybody taking action, taking it upon themselves to do these things, and that inspiring everybody else and creating a ripple effect. So it's really easy. Katie's put together a wonderful form on the website where you can just upload your picture and a few sentences about what you've done and help to inspire everybody else. So on that note, I'm going to hand over to Roger from Sheffield City Council, who's going to give us some wonderful best practice case study experience locally that just proves it can be done at scale by local authorities in Yorkshire, and it's already being done. Over to you, Roger.